Hello everyone, welcome to Jargus Ranger Review. This time we look at the season finale of Super Megaforce, the Legendary Battle. Now I need to add that both regular and extended versions of this episode aired just on a couple days of each other. What I'm talking about here only refers to the extended version. I had not even seen the short version at all. The first half of this episode is just the same as the previous one, the Wrath. But as I need a bit of a reminder, it has Levere getting destroyed, Emperor just using her as a pawn, and then a full fleet of the Armada. Attacking the Rangers, pretty much destroying them, with I believe the skyship as well. And then Emperor Mavro leaves a message to the people of Earth saying that he's already defeated the Power Rangers and he's going to come back in the morning. He thinks they've been destroyed. And so the part that's actually the last episode picks up right after that. Rangers are down and out, they're beat up and unconscious. And this time we really get to see the effects of an attack on the city. Because there are people trapped and injured everywhere. Buildings are destroyed through wreckage, people are having trouble moving, and the Rangers aren't anywhere to help them. Usually we just see buildings get blown up and that's it. No one's affected. But oh no, not this time. We're getting a good look what happens if the Rangers don't do their job. But here to the rescue to pull them out of the dangerous situation is a couple familiar faces if you've been a long-time fan of the series. Turns out to be our pink and red Lightspeed Rescue Rangers. Now what I like about this segment is that when they show these old Rangers, you see a brief glimpse of the helmet appearing over their heads, just showing who they are. Because a lot of these people have grown since we've last seen them. So it helps a great deal in helping everybody recognize who they are exactly. But now there's this kid in this collapsing building looking for his dog. But luckily the dog is found right before the kid has to run away from the building. And that's done by who turns out to be the Red Galaxy Ranger, Leo. But before he runs off, he asks what the kid's name is and he says Danny. It's like, it's a good name. Now that is a really clever reference because the actor's name that's always done Leo, that's his name as well. I almost missed that, Saban, but I caught what you did there. And then there's people trapped on an elevator in a building that's lost its power. But the doors, or is it the ceiling that breaks open? I kind of forget that detail already. And it's helped by two more veteran Rangers, this time being our pink and blue Space Rangers. Funny thing, showing off TJ to be blue when the last time we saw him he was the Red Turbo Ranger. But before we can continue the story, we have one more veteran Ranger rescue to show up. This time we have a little kid that's trapped in a car that's about to fall over a bridge. But fortunately, a very familiar voice in white, especially if you're familiar with the old era Saban episodes of Power Rangers, you definitely should know who this is. Good old Tommy, and he looks and pretty much sounds about the same as he did back in Dino Thunder, which at this point was 10 years ago. But it can't quite reach him, so he uses something for him to grab onto. Good old Saba from his Mighty Morphin days. How does he have that when those powers are long destroyed to him? Who knows, but that's just great to see. This episode is full of great little details for longtime fans. And he tells the kid that he can be a superhero one day. I thought it was a great little detail because it's pretty much saying that anybody can become a Power Ranger. So far this whole episode just reeks of Countdown to Destruction vibes. From the overbearing army to the Rangers defeated. But back to the actual story at hand. The Rangers are finally getting up and getting back together. People are taking refuge in the streets at night, setting fires to barrels to keep warm. And you've got Wes from Time Force and Damon from Lost Galaxy, as well as Karone from In Space all watching. Not saying anything, but they're there knowing what's going on. And this whole chunk of the episode just reeks of Countdown to Destruction. People are pretty much hopeless. The Rangers are defeated, massive enemy army about to destroy them in the morning. And I really believe this was intentional. Because of how similar it is, and considering this is actually Saban doing it again, this was done specifically to invoke those feelings of desperation again. As well as be a good treat to the old school fans. And in both regards, it worked. So when the Rangers are finally together, they talk to Gosei, and all he ends up saying is that he has faith in them. You've been hardly any help at all this whole season, Gosei. What's up with that? Supposed to be the Rangers' mentor and guide, but you don't do shit. But fortunately, the people still have some hope. They think if the Rangers are still there, they'll come save them. If not, they're ready to fight themselves with broken metal beams and golf clubs against the X-Borgs when they arrive. And while the Rangers are remarking at that, they see a familiar looking Armada ship crash nearby over the sky, and so they go to see what the landing was. Amazing nobody else came in to check it out, considering they're sort of expecting the Armada to show up above them again. And when it opens up, it's of course our Silver Ranger Orion, because he picked up the transmission for the second attack, so he came to help out. And in the morning, just like Maverick said, he sends his forces to finish off the people. Yeah, your little pieces of scrap metal ain't gonna help you against them. But fortunately, the Super Megaforce Rangers show up and intervene and start fighting them instead. And this is a really big missed chance for a civilian battle like Countdown to Destruction. Really, we've never seen anything like that ever since, where the populace itself just goes in all out and attacks the enemy. It'd be nice to see at least once more in this series. But these X-Borgs are nothing to the Rangers like usual, they're just destroying them. And then Orion and Troy, they go to the legendary Mighty Morphin Green and Red Rangers. And for something not seen before, they combine their powers to block an attack. The way they do this is that Orion gives Troy the Dragon Shield, just like Tommy gave it to Jason. Which I think was a brilliant way to throw back. And all the Rangers are just using the individual finish strikes to finish them off, because they can't hold anything back now. But before they can finish off the last of them, the Armada ships intervene and start blasting them because Maverick's impatient to finish the fight. But Orion and Troy decide to team up and go after Maverick themselves while the Rangers finish up on the ground. And to do this, they take Orion's stolen red ship, which looks unlike the rest of the Armada ships, and fly straight at their flagship. And despite thousands of blasts hitting it, it doesn't get taken out because of its shields. But the shield should have been falling quickly with Fallout going against it. So Maverick was just wondering what just happened, what crashed into them. But his answer comes pretty soon because they quickly take the fight to the bridge. And they instantly blast away the Royal Guard right when they burst into his room. And his reaction is great. He's like, "What? Rangers on my ship?" But he is not the Emperor for nothing, because when they tried to attack him, he just counters all the moves still sitting down. It sounds like when Lord Zed tried to fight Tommy. He barely put up a fight and he just countered all his moves. But he does have to get off his ass once Orion goes to his Super Mega Gold form and is putting up more of a fight. And while he's distracted, Troy takes the controls and from the flagship destroys all the other battleships within the Armada. And on the ground, the other Rangers just use the Super Mega Cannon to finish their battle. Oh, and Maverick was just pissed off. So now he starts getting really aggressive against our 2-shooting Rangers. To the point where his sword waves knocks back Troy and Orion. And then Orion talks about his home planet again, and he blasts the console, so he can't do anything with that place. And then they use the Super Mega Spear and Troy's Super Mega Blast to just ram into him. And we see a big explosion that destroys the flagship. And the other Rangers are looking down from nearby, since their battle finished first. They're thinking they don't know what happened to them, but luckily they're floating down from the Galaxy Gliders, in which we see our last legendary modes of the season, Red and Silver in space. But they only have a moment to relax because it turns out Maverick survived, and he's gonna keep on fighting them till they're destroyed. So the Rangers do their final Super Mega Morph, and this time when it shows the helmets go over their faces, the background is actually where they're fighting instead of the little animation thing they always do. And they're going all out from the get-go in this battle. They're just using several of their legendary modes at once from all different kinds of Rangers, not even doing the same teams anymore. They even use their legendary Battleizers, which are not Battleizers, it's their super modes. Battleizer means a very specific thing in Power Rangers and is generally exclusive to the Red Ranger. Because you have like the Ultra mode from the old Megaforce, the Super from Samurai, and SWAT mode from SPD. Can't remember the other two that I saw off the top of my head. But yeah, those are super modes. Those are not Battleizers. Battleizers is a special power-up just for the Red Ranger, and they did not show that at all. But Maverick just keeps going, saying that his power is greater. So they use their final strike in the Super Mega Saber Blast, but he's still walking, even steaming. He tells them that he is invincible. So the Rangers get the bright idea of just taking the Super Mega Cannon and jamming it right into his chest and firing at point blank range. Once again, Orion saying this is for Androsia, and that giant blast finally destroys him. But before he falls for his final explosion, he says that they shall not defeat his army. And coming down the mountain right behind them is this huge battalion of thousands of X-Borgs coming right for them. But Troy is just determined as hell to keep on fighting, cause this is the end, it's time to finish it. But before they can do anything, they see something rather unique appearing. But before that battle even begins, our heroes see a surprise on the hillsides. Teams of old rangers are just showing up and lining up there. None of them saying anything. And I've noticed that from both Mighty Morphin and Zeo, there's no green or white ranger. You know, no Tommy. Now I'm interested to knowing why it shows both the red, turbo, and the blue space rangers. Because those are both TJ. How does he have both those at once? So here will come down to greet the rangers, and of course they're led in front by our Mighty Morphin Green Ranger. Not the white one that helped the kid earlier. What's up with that? And another one that gets unmasked that we didn't see is Emily, our Yellow Samurai Ranger. And she's the only recent ranger of this whole team. Everyone else we've seen is from the old Saban era. No reference at all to the handful of Disney seasons we've had. And in one of these shots I've noticed is the Titanium Ranger from Lightspeed Rescue. Now that's an original appearance right there because he was not adapted from any Sentai. He was a ranger created exclusively for Power Rangers. And Troy's saying he's dreamt about this. Yeah, for once we're actually referring to his dreams that he's had at the start of the previous season. They were not mentioned at all during this one, until that one line right now. So the Rangers morph again, this time into the old Megaforce forms, saying go go Megaforce for the very last time. And the old Rangers that we did see remove their helmets, put them back on one by one. And before Carone puts hers back on, she says she loves being a Power Ranger. And we see her face quickly become astronaut for a second. Now that is freaking brilliant. She's come a long way from a place as the lead antagonist from In Space, that's for sure. And so if that all done, all the Rangers just fight against the Armada. Well, the remaining X-Borgs at least. And even Troy is fighting behind Robo Knight. And he's like, hello old friend, and Robo Knight's just like, it's good to be back. How he's back? I have no idea. But hey, it's the last episode, all the Rangers are there, let them have it. And in the final attack we see, they just combine their mega weapons and Orion Spear Blaster. And then finally they're all destroyed. And all the old Rangers are staring down the new ones. But breaking away from them, Tommy, and only Tommy, unmasks himself and he walks forward. It's like, it was an honor fighting with you and will always be around. And the other Rangers pretty much say other things, that they've done well, they're great Rangers, and they got great bravery and such. Even West gets a line. He sounds a bit older, but he sounds much like how he did before. And they all raise their hands and teleport out, much like the ways the Rangers did in Mighty Morphin to teleport intentionally. That was a clever touch right there. And they get 100 actors to do that at once, probably need a bit of coordination. And the Rangers just lay back and relax on the ground, still showing a lot of signs of injury, because it's finally over, they can relax. And when they give up Gia, she finally gives Jake some attention and kisses him on the cheek. Not on the lips, because we can't have our season 1 Mighty Morphin at all. But hey, he's finally getting somewhere with the girl he likes. After 40 episodes of saving the world with her, he finally gets something from her. And then Troy takes his Super Mega Saber and just slams it into the ground, knowing that he will no longer need it. Oh, and just a minute before that, when the other Rangers leave to teleport, it's just a huge flash of light that's seen from space across a big chunk of the planet. Who knows where they all went? Some of it even went into space. Probably because of the In-Space Rangers and the Galaxy Rangers on Miranoi. And then they run off to celebrate, and it ends off the episode and the whole season. And I have to say, this was a great way to end the season. It starts off with the Rangers being completely decimated. Everything looks hopeless, but then we get a greater light coming from the past. And no one knows these people are Rangers, and if people didn't know the past seasons or they didn't overlay their old helmets, none of us would have known either. So that gave people hope that they can still fight on their own without the Rangers. I guess that's what Tommy was thinking. I guess that's what Tommy meant when he said that that kid can be a superhero one day. It was just an incredible start. Though I'm rather disappointed in Ghosty where he didn't do anything. I mean, really, this entire season, he hardly did a thing. Last season too, at least in the previous one, he helped guide the Rangers. But this, he didn't do much of anything except, okay, yeah, you've been pretty brave and didn't give up, so here, have a new Megazord form. That's pretty much all he did the whole season. That's probably why I didn't like the Zord battles so much. I mean, they go by pretty quickly. Whenever things got tough, he said, oh hey, you got a new form, check it out, kick some ass. Because I like Megaforce's Megazord battles a lot better because there was a lot more tension to them. But in Super Megaforce, except from the beginning where they made it look all flashy and cool, there was really no tension to it. It was pretty obvious that the Rangers were going to win pretty easily after a few episodes of seeing that pattern without them having to struggle very much. But massive invasion and a countdown to destruction vibes, that was something I don't think anybody can complain about. And this is also a pretty clever way to finish off the big bad. I mean, even in person, he's shown off to be seemingly impossible. I mean, they blew up his ship in his face, and then he still came out unscathed. I mean, they had to use all their powers and even blow him up right in front of him. It was a long-ass battle against Mavro. The dude just seemed to be freaking unstoppable. Which is good, a final battle villain should be like that in a series like this. Make the Rangers really work for it. But that final legendary battle, that's nothing but pure fan service. I mean, if you liked anything of Power Rangers in the past, that's certainly to make you happy right there. Just seeing everyone's there. Your childhood heroes, your child's heroes, your current heroes, just fighting alongside each other against one enemy swarm. But I'm told in the original cut of this, the last battle with Mavro didn't happen. It just ended with the ship exploding on him. And that would have just been terrible. That's just entirely anticlimactic. So I'm glad an extended version has that in there, because that's a satisfying end to him, even though we've only seen him a couple episodes. I mean, more so than any other season. And more so than any other episode, there was great attention to detail in this one episode. And they had to be. They had to pull everything out to do this. But the very end of the episode was a bit, left me wanting more. Because Troy leaves his saber behind. I mean, yeah, the Armada is gone, but it could always be another threat to Earth. Don't you want to keep it in case you'll need it one day? Though I guess it's nice of marking the ground where the great battle was, I suppose. It's still a good, powerful image. But then the Rangers just run off and celebrate like the end of a regular episode. Now I think it should have had something a little more triumphant there, considering the enemy they've technically been fighting for 2 seasons now has finally been completely destroyed. They should be a little better off than that. Now as for the entire season itself, it was okay. It had a strong beginning and a strong end, but in the middle it kinda trailed off. I mean, aside from your first few episodes after the opening, there was really nothing much about the old Rangers except they call upon their powers randomly. I mean, there should have been a few more throwback episodes sprinkled in there, just to keep in mind that this was an anniversary season. So it's almost made it seem like it's just another episode ending, but really it's the ending of their whole time together. Because after we got to see Orion, things just drifted off into being mediocre. Because the dude, he had a few episodes devoted to him, but he showed hardly any personality. He was just kind of there, except for his 1 minute where he was goofing off into school every night. The rest of the time, he was barely noticeable with his presence. Whereas all the other Rangers had a lot of time dedicated to them. Especially Troy and Noah. Noah developed a lot this season. I mean, he probably had the most solo fights of all. He went from being another Billy type character to being a freaking badass that kicked everyone's ass in the end. Troy didn't really change very much, but he didn't need to. He's like Jason or Carter. He's as fine Red Ranger as he is. Strong, determined, good-natured, talks like a hero. And that was really apparent when he did his one-on-one fight with Robo Knight, when he became like just a big-ass Super Saiyan punch out of nowhere. And I freaking love Dragon Ball Z, so when I see something like that, especially something like Power Rangers, it just makes my day. I mean, Vekar is a fun little villain to use. I actually would like to see more time dedicated to him, just to see what kind of weird stuff he would do. Incompetent Power Rangers villains are always entertaining. But overall, this season gets a B- and C+. There's a lot of good stuff in here, but the middle just felt flat. Until it was going towards the end that it started really picking up again. But they really should not have tried to combine 2 different Sentai into one series. It just didn't work out. And the Varkas Back episodes, that should have just been a tail end of Megaforce. And if that season was going to end off with the invasion, those 2 episodes could have been just better laid in there. That way, he could have just been defeated and the Armada fleet just shows up right afterwards. Would have been a much better way to transition. Instead, we have 2 episodes where he just shows up out of nowhere and they fight him like it's the old season. Anyway, overall, I still think Super Megaforce is worth watching. If nothing else, for the first few and the last few episodes. Because those handful together just make a really powerful throwback to the whole history of Power Rangers. And after the preview swipes to Invader Charge, I'm thinking what we have next is going to be an even better season. And so I'll see you again when that season starts. I've been Jargus, thanks for watching, and until Dino Charge begins, let the power protect you.